And I'll let you. I may give you a few seconds. Like I feel like there might be a little bit of delay, but that shouldn't be too bad. But what I'll do is this: I'll count down to 15, from 15 to 8. Do a silent count to 0. Play a 30-second intro, and then we'll go live right after that.
Okay. Sweet.
During that intro, it'll mute our mics, but just wanted to give you a heads up on that.
Okay.
Okay. Counting down to 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9. Good evening, everybody. We are live for another Sports Refuge Podcast live stream. I'm your host, Earl Holland, and with me, my guest here to talk about the Cincinnati Reds, who are in the thick of the NL wildcard race, is someone I met by chance by going to a Cincinnati Reds game as part of one of my tours of some of the several ballparks, which we'll put up a little bit later on the website down the road with some videos and little insights on that. This is my guest, Bobby Olsen. Bobby, thank you for being on the podcast and taking time out of your busy schedule, and I really appreciate it, especially who knew that such a chance encounter at a game would turn out to lead to an interview.
Yeah, thanks for having me first off, and yeah, that was an awesome thing that I met you, and thanks for having me on. I know you're from Delaware, so kind of crazy to see somebody out in Cincinnati that's from all the way out on the east side. So that was awesome. It was awesome to meet you, Earl.
Definitely, and I really appreciate it. One of the first things I wanted to do, just getting into the conversation, how long have you been a Reds fan? What led to you becoming a Reds fan?
Yeah, so I would consider myself more of an unorthodox Reds fan. I'm not from Cincinnati, didn't have any family from Cincinnati at all. So kind of how it started for me, I was a huge Ken Griffey Jr. fan. Actually, behind me is a Ken Griffey Jr. signed hat. It's a Mariners one. Don't give me too much of a tough time for that. But so when I was 8 years old, he got traded to the Reds. And he was my favorite player, had all his baseball cards, loved the guy. So kind of just made me into a big Reds fan. I was 8 years old. That's when I really was playing it as a kid, fell in love with the game more and more. So it just turned me really into a big Reds fan. The Tigers also, where I'm from Michigan, the Tigers also suck badly. It's the Bobby Higginson days, if anybody knows. Not good time. So I was really looking for another team to really root for. So it was nice. It was probably about the year 2000 that when I became a Reds fan, and been 21 years since. So, and they still haven't won a World Series or barely been in the playoffs. So it's been brutal, but we're getting there. We're getting there.
To you, what was your most memorable moment as a Reds fan?
Yeah, this is an easy one for me. So I think it was about 2007. My parents took me to my first Reds game as a kid, and I brought my buddy along with me as well. And it's crazy saying some of these names now, but Jim Edmonds played for the Cardinals during that day, and they were playing the Cardinals at Great American. He starts off the first inning, hits a grand slam. The Reds are down 4-0 immediately. And my first game ever, I'm like, awesome. This is excellent. They end up coming back, bottom of the ninth. David Ross, who's the manager now for the Cubs, he played for the Reds. He had a two-run walk-off home run to center. My first game ever, I got to see a walk-off home run. It was probably 30,000 people there. It was just excellent moment. I'll never forget it.
Going into the season, what were your expectations for the Reds? I know they made the playoffs in that we can call it the bizarro season of 2020 that was. And I know especially seeing the field go back down from 8 in each team to 5. What were your expectations realistically, thinking that the Reds could do this for the long haul in a full season?
Yeah, well, to start off, they lost Bauer. So once they lost their best pitcher, who also won the Cy Young, that immediately took down the expectations. So I was kind of expecting an 81 win ball club. and I'm a gambling man too. I like to sports bet. I'm in Michigan. We got it legal here. So I think Vegas had about 81 wins. So that's kind of like, I base a lot of my expectations off what Vegas thinks because they're right a lot of the time. So I was like, all right, they're probably an 81 win ball club. Probably won't make the playoffs. So yeah, they definitely have exceeded my expectations in a lot of ways because we're right there, and they've been playing a lot better ball than I expected them to.
Was there a point in the season you were confident that the Reds are going to the playoffs?
Well, I don't think I've ever been confident since they've been in the wild card chase the entire time. But maybe 2 weeks ago, they had a 2-game lead on the Padres, like a 5-game lead on the Cardinals, 7 on the Phillies. So they were looking pretty good. Was very excited at that moment. And then shortly after, I mean, they've lost 5 series in a row. So they've kind of gone downhill a little bit. So it's been tougher. But yeah, a couple weeks ago, I was feeling pretty confident. It's changed a little bit.
Was there a point you were worried about them in the playoff race? I know, especially you talk about the 5 consecutive series losses, but any other signs that made you think, oh, these guys are not going to make the playoffs or they're going to miss it so closely?
It's, I see a lot of teams throwing more left-handed pitching at them. They're like the second worst team in the majors at left-handed pitching. So I think teams are starting to realize their weakness and starting to attack it a little bit more, throwing left-handed starters and relievers at them. And they're just not hitting the ball the same. They're not hitting the ball the same they were a couple weeks ago. It just, I don't know how to put I don't know where to put my foot on it, but something's gone wrong and they need to quickly turn it around. We only got 3 weeks left and now they're a game out of the playoff race now. So yeah.
Is there a team that if the Reds make the playoffs, you're looking forward to matching up with in the National League? Who do you think the Reds can knock out in a particular first round or wild card or even NLCS chance opportunity?
Yeah, I mean that's tough. A lot of good teams out there. I say if they get to the wild card, because they're not winning the division. I mean, I think they're 12 games back of the Brewers, so they have to make the wild card. If they do, I'd prefer to play the Giants. I don't think anybody wants to play the Dodgers. If you do, you're insane. So I would probably take the Giants there. Maybe in a 1 game, you just never know what could happen. The Giants' best pitchers are all right-handers. If the Reds get Winker back, they have Votto. They have some other good left-handed bats. I mean, they can make something happen in 1 game. If they get to a second round, give me anybody but the Dodgers. Let's just put it that way. I'll take the Padres. I'll take the it wouldn't be the Padres, but I'll take the Braves. And I'll take the other squad that would make it. Who was the other team in the NL? Can't think of it right now.
The Brewers?
The Brewers, yeah. I'd rather even play the Brewers, even though the Reds have been pretty much 500 against the Brewers all year. So I would take that as well.
And what about the chance that the Phillies make it out of the East? Because that seems so strange, and even the Mets are slowly starting to resurface. I mean, so you'll take it over the East winner in the field, and in that case?
I would, yeah. I just think the East, I mean, the Braves have definitely come on, but the East isn't that strong right now. The Mets and Phillies shouldn't make it. I mean, there's some time left. There's 3-4 weeks left, but yeah, I just don't see either of them making it. And even if they do, I mean, they're going to get knocked out wild card anyway.
Who's the team that you don't want to see in the playoffs? I'm assuming it's the Dodgers, but aside from the Dodgers, who else really scares you?
Well, it's the Dodgers and Giants, but the Reds are going to have to play one of them right off the bat in the wild card. They have no choice. If they make the playoffs, they have to play one of them, and those are probably the 2 teams that scare me the most in the entire NL. So it's a tough question to answer because they're pretty much going to be playing one of the teams that I don't want them to play.
Looking at the situation, you mentioned Trevor Bauer leaving Cincinnati to go to the Dodgers. And to sort of handle this situation as best we can with kid gloves, how much of an impact would he have made on this team, and how much of a bullet do you think you as Red fans were able to dodge with all this stuff that came out?
Yeah. Well, I'm definitely happy they got rid of him. Let's put it that way, because I don't think he would have ended up playing anyway for them. So in the grand scheme of things, hindsight's 20/20. It worked out for them. That they got rid of him. But yeah, I mean, let's say he had a full season. Yeah, I mean, the Reds probably would be a 90-95 win team. I mean, you got another Cy Young player add to their pitching staff with Luis Castillo, Miley that's pitching well too. I mean, that'd be a tough ball club to beat. So I mean, if they had him, it'd be excellent. But I'm obviously in the grand scheme of things, with all the allegations that happened, him not playing baseball, I'm fairly happy they did not hold on to him and his contract.
What have you seen in manager David Bell that has really made everyone optimistic about the future of the Reds?
Well, I just like the fact that he was a ball player before, and a pretty darn good ball player at that. So I always like, ball players that, they used to play, they come in, especially younger managers that have a lot more energy like he does. And he's made a lot of good moves. I don't know if I can put my foot on exactly what he's done, but I feel like he has a good grasp of the team and their strengths and weaknesses. And he makes very good calls on when to throw relievers out, when to leave people in as far as starting pitchers and how far they can go into the game. I just think he's done a very good job managing that. I've seen that he's with Winker getting injured, a lot of these injuries we had with the rotation in the past during the summer. I just don't think he could have done better. I mean, we had our entire rotation was gone. The bullpen, the entire bullpen was injured, and we were still winning games because he was bringing people in to fill in the spots. So I think he did an admirable job.
I always say this, especially as I've seen all the teams that this man has managed win World Series a few years after. Do you think David Bell will be the guy to break the curse of Dusty Baker? Because apparently it seems in San Francisco, in Washington, and Chicago, at each one of those teams, even though it was an extended amount of time since he left Chicago and San Francisco, have won a World Series. And of course, Washington was a couple years removed from Dusty being the manager. And I still think that at the time when they went with Brian Price, that they really, Dusty Baker had a winning record, and they decided to go with a pitching coach who didn't have any experience as a manager. But I mean, that's worked sometimes. You can look at I can't think Bud Black. You can look at that as an example where it did work out, but then you can look at plenty of other guys like a Phil Regan or a Ray Miller where it didn't work out well. But do you feel that David Bell is the next guy who can break this curse and help the Reds get their first World Series since 1990?
I'm going to say yes, I do. I actually never even thought about what you just brought up, those statistics. That's amazing. It makes me feel a lot better about the fact that they might have a chance to win a World Series. I think he can be the guy. I mean, he came right in. We acquired some people like Moustakas and Castellanos and Bauer that in 2020 that definitely helped the team. But the team's not too much different than what they were even three years ago, really, in my opinion. And I think he's done an awesome job. I mean, they're playing better baseball than I would have ever expected. I think next year they can even take another step forward.
Looking at the World Series prediction, who do you have coming out of the American League? Who do you have coming out of the National League? How many games will it go, and who wins it all?
Yes. So I feel confident about this one. I'm going to throw like $100 on this through Vegas, through betting. That's how confident I feel about this matchup. You already know my NL team. I already gave you that one because that's the scariest team I thought about, the Dodgers. I don't see anybody touching them. They're going to run through the NL. This is not probably a fan popular opinion here, but I'm going to take the Astros in the AL. I think they have the offense and they have enough pitching to get it done to get through the AL to match up with the Dodgers. But the Dodgers are, I don't know, a men among boys, I guess you can say. So I think they take it at about 6. I think they would take the series in 6 if it came down to that. But that would be my bet. I would say Astros and the Dodgers, and I feel confident about that. I do feel definitely confident the Dodgers will make it, and I think the Astros, with the way they're playing, there's really not a team on that side that's going to beat them.
Yeah, it's interesting. I haven't even thought about a prediction yet. I know a few people I've already talked with are basically saying Astros Dodgers. It's interesting to see, especially in the American League side. The Rays are a team that, they keep finding ways of winning, and I know they drubbed the Red Sox a few days ago, but I feel like in the American League is a little bit more wide open as opposed to as opposed to the National League. I mean, even then, it's Dodgers, Giants, maybe the Brewers, but I always think in the American League, can't count out Tony La Russa and the White Sox, even though you find out they could be playing well in spite of him. You look at the A's, even though they might be slowly, I guess, cratering, but they still could turn it around easily. And I just say, I mean, the Pinstripes are always going to be a threat once they get in the playoffs. So you never know. I mean, but then again, I always go with Buck Showalter's greatest quote, that playoffs are a crapshoot. You never know what's going to happen. You can have the best team. Somebody can catch fire at the right time, a la the 14 Royals, and make it to the World Series. And then, a year or two later, win it. So you never know. I mean, that's the best thing. But
I like that. If I had to say just one more thing, if I had to give you a sleeper pick on the AL side, and you didn't mention this team, I would actually go with the Blue Jays. They've won 7 in a row, an unbelievable offense with 2 or 3 solid pitchers that could get them through the postseason if they make it. They just swept I think they play today, but they're 3 games in a row. They just won against the Yankees, and they're only a game out of the playoffs. So the Blue Jays, if they make it, I could see them being a team that nobody wants to play, especially with being the AL wide open. That could be a team that can make it cruise right through.
You made me think of another team I just saw about the Mariners could easily, if the Mariners, that race is very tight in the wild card. And I know that's going to be something that, it may come down to a couple of 1-game playoffs to determine who gets in to be that second wild card. And, I think the playoffs could be very exciting when you look at it. As we wrap these things up, Bobby, and I really appreciate you. And of course, we'll talk a little more off air. Do you have any shout outs you want to give? Anything you want to promote on social media? Any ways people can reach out to you to talk about Reds baseball?
Yeah, for sure. So I actually told a couple buddies that I'd be joining you on this. So shout out to my buddies, Ryan, Cameron. They're both Detroit Tigers fans. Unfortunate for them. But they did take 2 out of 3 in the most recent series against us. So congrats, guys. And then shout out to my buddy Larry. He's not a Reds fan, but he's a big Michigan fan, and the Reds have a lot of big Michigan products. Barry Larkin, Chris Sabo. So shout out to him on that. And then shout out to my wife Lindsay. We got married back in December, and I am turning her into a diehard Reds fan as well. So go Reds.
But yeah, I really appreciate it, Bobby. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule. Again, I always have to repeat that because, again, these things are just really voluntary. And for everybody who likes to participate, I love getting everybody their opportunity to shine and really promote anybody or shout out anybody, because we're always going to do something like this because it's about the fans. And that's the biggest thing because, and I feel like, again, sometimes it gets lost in sports nowadays. Everybody sees the money, everybody sees the odds, everybody sees everything else, but it's all about really being a fan. And sometimes it's easy to get enthusiastic about it. Can it be just as easy to get really distraught about certain things that, whether they don't go your way or whether teams move and stuff like that. And I really want to make this known that it's about the fans. And Bobby, again, I appreciate it. What we'll do is we'll talk a little off the air in the studio, but what we'll do is, for everybody who's been watching, I really appreciate it. Thank you guys so much. We'll be on. We're going to be starting the gamut of playoff teams. We still got plenty of teams left that are in the race or locked up the division, and we're going to get to those soon. So keep your eyes on Facebook and social media as well. And for everybody watching, really appreciate it. I'm Earl Holland. Thank you guys, and we'll see you down the road in a little bit for our next live stream.
Thanks, Earl.
Thank you.